Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, February 27th, 2014 is called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Dorband.
I am here.
Commissioner Johnson, I am here. Commissioner Powers.
Here.
Commissioner Schaaf.
I'm here.
Commissioner Stylen.
Here.
Commissioner Zangara.
Here.
And Chairman Raffato.
Here.
All present and accounted for.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
Citizens' concerns and comments. Is there anyone wishing to speak on any matter tonight? No, there are not. Consent items, docket number SCBA 14-3, FedEx 1234 Peterson Drive, appearance approval of a wall and freestanding sign. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dorband, and we have the, docket number SCBA 14-4, SG 360-750 South Wolf Road, appearance approval of a wall sign. I would assume that same.
So moved.
Yep.
Second.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Dorband, seconded by Commissioner Powers. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I say yes. Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen.
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffato.
Yes. Items for review, docket number 2014-3, Chicago Fit Life 541 Northgate Parkway, special use site plan approval for a recreation and instruction facility. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2014-3. Michael Hoffman, owner of Chicago Fit Life LLC, contract purchaser, is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Chapter 19-07 Industrial Districts, Section 1907.030, I-2 Limited Industrial District, Chapter 1910 Use Regulations, and Chapter 1912 Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections to establish a recreation and instruction facility at 541 Northgate Parkway, Wheeling, Illinois. Standards for special use. The zoning special use is defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning as a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding property that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets the conditions of the Village Code, including, but not limited to, how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings.
At this time, there are no additional staff comments. We had a few things in the staff report, but if they don't come up through the course of the discussion, we'll bring them up later.
Great, thank you. Are the petitioners here? Come on. Just ask who's going to speak tonight?
Depending on the question, either me or Tom.
Okay, so both are great.
Yeah.
If you could raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And if you could give your names and business addresses to our recording secretary, that would be great.
Michael Hoffman. My address is 711 South River Road, Des Plaines, Illinois, 616.
My name is Tom Buckley. I'm the architect, 1246 Remington in Schaumburg.
Great, thank you. The floor is yours, sir.
Michael's going to introduce what the use of the facility is, and then I can speak of parking. And we also have a lighting consultant with us.
Great.
as
Just in
well.
case.
Thank you.
The use of the building would be for personal training, group training, basically an exercise facility. It would have 3 different types of exercise, CrossFit, yoga, and spin, which are the 3 most popular exercise groups right now. The facility would be spa-like inside, so very high class, nice, and would have probably upwards of 5 to 10 personal trainers, actually people working for the company. Not all might not be personal trainers, and then hopefully upwards of 400 members. And class sizes would be 15 to 20, hopefully upwards of 20 if we do well. It can run anything from 1 to 3 classes at a time, and then we'll have an area for personal training. So I have no idea how many people we could have with personal training, but one for each personal trainer, they can train 1 to 2 people at a time. So maybe 5 to 10 people would be doing that at the same time. Is that acceptable?
I believe the building
We're
is
pretty
well...
easy. Anything you tell us is fine. We'll have questions
A
for
little
you.
nervous.
Yeah, don't be nervous.
I believe the building is well-suited. It's got high ceiling heights, wide open spaces, and plenty of room for us to put in the locker rooms and, and washrooms, as we've got shown on the plans. The exterior will remain virtually as it is. It's a full masonry building, bar joist, supported flat roof. There is existing parking striping. However, I believe there was a statement from the fire department. They had questioned the parking on the north and south sides because I think that would inhibit access, fully around the building. So on my new site plan, we have removed those, parallel spaces on the north and south. I've also added some directional arrows, that to help facilitate, in and out. But as I said, I think the building is well suited, and I think it's going to serve Michael very well.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Are there any comments from the audience? Nope. Okay, good. We're going to go to the commission members now, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. First of all, is this a new facility for you? I noticed a letterhead from Displays. Are you
Yes,
relocating or?
No, I've been personal training in home and
okay.
working for other clubs, and finally time to move on my own. So this would be a new facility for me, yes.
Good, great.
First facility.
There was a question brought up by staff in our report about bicycle parking. If you're going to provide some, or if they're allowed to bring their bikes inside,
They would absolutely be allowed to bring it inside.
because there's a good chance you're going to get some bike traffic,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
hopefully.
If, I would definitely I would put a, what is it called, a bike rack? If it became to where a lot of people are doing it. But there's a warehouse inside, so as you can see in the drawing previous, the top part, that's going to stay very open, and there's going to be plenty of room. If I need to put a bike or two in there, it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, and then as far as the driveways and the directions, you're intending it to be one way in, one way out?
Yes.
That flow the way it is? All right, that's all I have for now, thanks.
Great. Commissioner Stalin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my only concern was the driveway widths around the building. Do you know, the way the building is used today, are those one-way entities?
Yes, they are.
Okay, yeah, I think they should continue, so...
They're currently one way, and there is, as the petitioner had mentioned, there's parking here. We looked at this from a public use standpoint as opposed to employee parking, and did not feel that there was enough space for parking. And then when we spoke with the fire department was concerned that an ambulance wouldn't be able to clear the remaining space if there was a car parked there.
Yeah, and the width of the aisle seems to be
I'll just say substandard, and, with all the bushes and shrubs along the side, snow's probably going to creep in and make it even smaller. So, but it's already been decided. That was my only concern, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Zangara.
Actually, I'm welcoming that you decided to do something like this.
Oh, thank you.
I train regularly. I think you CrossFit people are a little nuts. Someone asked me to join, and I said no. But anyways, I think it's a very good use of the building. I mean, I've seen this building for a long time, and my question would be, I know of some other facilities. A lot of times, sometimes they go into the parking lot to work out and stuff
Yes.
like that. Now, will that happen here?
In this building, I actually do not think I will need to, because of the size of the inside. But if it came down to it, a certain day, it's nice, I'd put cones up and mark off an area on the blacktop, probably right behind where the two doors are, the sliding doors.
Okay, that was just my concern, because I know we talked about parking, and I know, I've seen it where
They do that, yes.
if it gets 90 outside, no one's going to be sweating inside. A lot of times you go outside.
Yeah, they
so-
go outside, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're actually taking up the entire building, which includes the garage door company that's there, correct?
Correct.
And their door in the front, you're going to brick that up or whatever. That door is going to be removed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The parking spots in the front by Northgate Parkway, are you going to be, I'm trying to figure between a satellite view and what you have on the actual site plan. Are you keeping the same number of spots there, or are they increasing by one or two, Andrew? Do you
Yeah.
know?
I believe they're staying the same, and there is a second handicap spot.
Okay.
Yeah, so we may actually lose a space because. of
Yeah,
If you
that
could speak
second
into the microphone when you're,
Actually, I think we're losing one space because we're adding a second handicap.
And then are you going to repave and restripe the lot before you move in, or is it going to kind of stay that way before you move in? How's that going to work?
Not repave.
Not
I can restripe. Yeah, I'm going to have to remove the ones on the
side?
the side of the
and
building,
south,
north
yeah.
and south, just on the north of the building.
Okay.
Restriping won't be a problem.
Yeah, because I drove up down the north side. I'm glad you're removing the spots because it was really tight. And I think Commissioner Stylen mentioned something about the snow, and that was a concern because I didn't see how you're going to have cars parked on the side and then try to get somebody through it and a snow pile. So
Yeah, it's a
that's
big
good.
problem right now. And actually, snow plowing is something I've done for a long time. The company I'm using, I've been friends with, I will not allow they're going to pile it up tall in the back and not cover up
Okay.
spots.
As far as, will you be coming back to us for signage?
I will, yes.
And then, do you know like what type of signage? I guess because you gonna be having directional signs like enter only from like the north side and exit only from like the south side of the?
I was planning on putting directional signs up, yes, because of the fact that we want people to drive one direction. And I will be adding a sign in. It is going to be industrial looking steel, possibly about 10 feet long. No lighting. It'll have backlighting, but not a lit sign. It's just going to be stainless steel with Chicago Fit Life.
And will that be attached on the facade of the
To
building?
the front of the building. There is actually already, I believe I think it was an antique shop, had already gotten a permit for a sign and had already put in all the wiring for lighting, but they ended up, I guess, going out of business. So I was just going to use that.
I think that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Dorbin.
Thank you. Thank you for including the cut sheets on the lighting. And I guess my only question probably would go to staff is, will this be adequate lighting all around the building in case somebody were to go in the back of the building? I'm just concerned about safety.
Yes, we had, that was one of the issues that we had worked with them on as they were preparing the application. The concern was that by changing the use of the building and having the public park primarily in the back, that it'd be adequately lit, and it is. We brought them up to the standard. It was below the standard, the lowest standard that we have, and it's now up to that first level. It's not a super intense use, but it is definitely significantly above our safe standard for a public use parking lot.
Okay. I like the fact that the lighting is down too, so it wouldn't impede anybody else around. I also did pull off the sheets from the, regarding all your landscaping, and I think they all seem to fit nicely with our weather,
Thank you.
and I think it'll be fine.
Excellent, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have only one thing. I'd just like for you to verify your hours of operation, please.
5 a.m. to 10 p.m., except for Saturday and Sunday, I believe, we'll be closing and opening a little bit different. Probably opening 7, 8, closing 5-ish.
Okay, that seems to 8 to 3 on Sunday
Yeah,
Was-
yeah,
okay.
about 8 to 3.
and 8 to 5 on Saturday, otherwise
Yeah,
5 to 10.
correct.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that. Thank you very much and welcome to Wheeling.
Thank you.
I also just wanted to say that Michael is going to be, he's hopes to purchase the building and not just be a tenant. So I think that's an important consideration, so he's got a commitment.
Absolutely.
How many, for instance, during the week, you said you're open from 5 to 10. So what are your peak times?
As crazy it is, 5 a.m.
Right.
And I'm not looking forward to getting up for it. I can't believe people just get up to work out that early, but yes, 5 a.m. and then usually about 6 and 7 o'clock are in the PMs.
So what do you anticipate at 5 a.m., the number of?
I would say from 5 to probably 7:30, I will fill one CrossFit and one yoga and one spin class,
And
and
what-
possibly have a few personal trainers.
And what, so one CrossFit class, how many people are?
20 people,
20. And spin?
20 and 20. I'm gonna, 60 people, yeah. And not all at the same time. CrossFit will be the earlier at 5 a.m.
Okay.
And then yoga and spin will probably start 6:30, 7, something
And
like
so
that.
how long are your sessions?
Most are an hour. CrossFit can go up to an hour and 15.
Okay. And where do you store is there going to be any equipment? I know spinning is stationary, but any other equipment that you're going to have?
All equipment would be on the floor,
Okay,
ready to use.
okay.
The spin room will have the spin bikes in place. And then the yoga does not really, they use mats and blocks. I can fit that stuff in a small closet. On your picture, on the lower part, the 3,000, about 3,000 square feet on the bottom, where it says open fitness area number 2, that will be personal training. So that will have regular gym equipment in there. And that will all be bolted down to the floor.
Does anybody have any other questions? No? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Schaaf.
Can I just confirm the conditions that are attached to that motion before we
I'm
vote
sorry.
on it?
Yep.
The staff report conditions were that the business may restripe the parking area to add 5 stalls to the east wall, along the east wall, and 2 stalls in the main rear parking aisle if needed in the future. Number 2, that the drive aisles adjacent to the west, north, and south sides of the building shall be posted as fire lanes. And then the third was the discussion of directional signage being replaced. That existing on-site directional signage is to be replaced.
Great, thank you. Take it away, Mr. Secretary.
All right. Docket number 2014-3. Motion was made by me and seconded by Commissioner Schaaf.
Right.
Commissioner Johnson votes yes. Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban.
Yes.
Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Steilen.
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara.
Yes.
And Chairman Rafato.
Yes.
Welcome to Wheeling.
Explain what he has to.
And the recommendation of the Plan Commission, is forwarded on to the village board, and we'll be in touch with you about the date of the board, the Board of Trustees' final vote. But this recommendation with the conditions will be forwarded on. We do have a copy of this for you to sign.
Do your spin bikes come with training wheels? No? Okay, good.
Andrew?
Sure.
Now it's talking my language.
Training?
I haven't used training wheels since my tricycle.
I have another.
Yeah, but yours is a little wrong.
Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mary. Oh, boy. Ready, Andrew?
All ready?
You ready?
I was ready.
Calling docket number 2014-4-A, 2014-4 A and B, Salata, 1083 Lake Cook Road. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2014-4A and B. Dan Campbell, owner of Salata, lessee, is seeking the following actions to establish a restaurant at 1083 Lake Cook Road within the Lexington Commons Plaza, hereafter legally described below. Well, it's not.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Cut and paste. 2014-4A is a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19.11, General Development Standards, Section 1911.010, off-street parking and loading, Section E, parking standards, subsection 1, minimum required parking per land use category, and associated sections to reduce the required parking for a sit-down restaurant. In 2014-4B, special use site plan approval is required under Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 1906, commercial districts, Chapter 1910, use regulations, Chapter 1912, site plan approval requirements, and associated sections to establish a sit-down restaurant. Standards for a variation. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets the conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting material submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Mr. Jennings?
Just one brief note before we get into the petitioner's presentation. There was a note sent out with the staff report regarding the parking calculation. What I'd like to do before we open it up to the petitioner is just make sure that the Plan Commission understood the background. That's more of a question for staff, not the petitioner. So First, by way of explanation, the shopping center, as you know, has had multiple special uses and parking variations in the past. This shopping center, at the time of the approval of the subject building, was eligible for a overall parking reduction. The expectation at that time was that the future tenant of this space would be responsible for applying for a parking variation. The number of that variation was unknown at that time, but it was understood by the village and the landlord at that time that this would be ultimately required. The village, subsequent to that review, modified the parking requirements for shopping centers, effectively removing the reduction from shopping centers of this size. So what we have for your consideration today is a parking variation, the amount of which is based on the calculation that was done for this particular building. Because this is such an unusual circumstance, we have a section of the code that we have not really needed to use in the past, and I wanted to give the commissioners the opportunity to ask questions on it. The variation that is being presented to you implies an exception to the code, and that exception would basically be awarded to the shopping center. The shopping center does not have land area available for additional parking, and the commission in this review of this special use and variation would also be effectively granting the shopping center an exception, meaning that they would not be required to provide additional parking. This is somewhat unusual. We have put this particular issue on our list of zoning code updates because it does present somewhat a confusing scenario when you have a particular tenant come in front of you. This is not something, as I said, we had in the past, but I think it is worthy of our review at a later date. As we periodically update the zoning code, this seems to be one that certainly warrants a second look later. Are there any questions about this, this interesting scenario?
So this was generated by our changing the code?
It's a combination of two things. It is the change to the code happened after this particular building was approved under one set of regulations. The reduction for shopping centers was modified after that point, meaning that this building, the parking that was calculated for this building disappeared before it was occupied. So in order to correct that, the shopping center, the implication of this review, even though it was the review that was expected, the implication of this review is that they're also being granted an exception from having to provide additional parking. So confusing as it is, it means that the same building that you saw approved previously is in front of you for the occupancy that you expected at about the same usage, the same intensity that you expected. The exception in the code that we have not had to use before, we are going to take a look at the language and how it's applied.
Okay. Commissioner Stalin?
I'm still just a little bit confused. Before we made the most recent change to the parking allocation, would this building or addition, this use, this special use, would it have required a parking variation?
This would have required a parking variation.
Of approximately?
The number, the base shifted down. So that's the issue, is that
Well, but I mean, under the old computation, it would have required a variation of what kind of number?
And this is where it gets confusing. I had intended to not get too much into the calculation because they have a negative, the shopping center requirement changed. The whole shopping center as a whole changed by 20-something spaces in between when this building was approved and today.
And
so that the base level of what is considered
I hear you, but had they come in 6 months ago, or whenever, the day before we changed the parking requirements, can you just give me a kind of rule of thumb number of what the parking, what their variation would have been back then? I mean, it doesn't have to be.
So the number that is in the report is that number. The 21 to 11 number, that's the number that we're talking about.
Okay, so, I mean, I see 10 in the report that we're asking for a variation. So that's based upon the
Right.
old number?
That is based upon the number at
The
which
old
this building was
calculation.
approved.
And if we were to do that today, under the current calculation, they would be short 21?
They would have been short before you even calculated them. That's the
No, no,
exemption.
if they were coming in brand new today, you know, the building's been built for 10 years, they want to come in and occupy the special use, what kind of variation would they require today?
Their variation would have exceeded the number of parking spaces they would have been required. They
Right,
would have
so-
started negative.
So, but then they would have asked for a variation.
They would have asked for a variation, I think it would have been 26 for the 20, they need 21, and they would have asked for a variation for more than they were required for.
Okay, so under today's rule, they would need 26. Under the old rule, basically, they would need 10. We're letting them have the 10, or seeking the 10, because they kind of,
Fell in there.
right, fell within a crack.
Right.
Right,
Okay,
so
thank you.
the combination of the exemption from constructing new parking and the variation for the space, we believe covers them, but we do want to go back and look at the code and just make sure that this is less confusing in the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
No,
was just
that's
a little
fine.
confused there.
It is confusing.
Right, it is confusing.
Good. Are there any other questions on it?
Any other questions? Okay, great.
Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. Are you going to be, sir, you're going to be the only one speaking tonight?
Yes, unless there's a question I can't answer. Mark Jordan is.
Well, if you could,
the,
if you could stand up, sir, might as well do it all at once, I don't have to do it again. If you could raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I do.
Great. If you can give your name and business address to our recording secretary, that'd be great.
Dan Campbell, P.O. Box 321, Lake Bluff, Illinois, 60044.
Mark Jordan, it's First American Properties, 1731 North Marcy, M-A-R-C-E-Y Street, Suite 520, Chicago.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So our business is called Salata. It's a franchise. I am the area developer for the North Shore of Illinois. This location would be our first location. And what Salata started in Houston. Right now they have 30 locations operating in all the major cities in Texas and LA. The plans are to increase that by 50 to 75 in the next 2 years, and our initial push here would be for 6 restaurants in on the North Shore. Salata is kind of the model of Chipotle, but further expanded, where you walk through, you have 4 different types of lettuces. You can pick whatever you want, all the way through the bar, the salad bar, which is about 40 foot long. Any topping that you can think of, you just say you want it. Our servers put it in a bowl and it's tossed to order for you. What sets this concept apart is the dressings and sauces are made by Salata. They're gluten-free. They're preservative-free. The chicken and the salmon are cooked in-house. It's not cooked in a factory and preserved. It's a great, it centers on lunch business. 70% of their existing locations are heavy lunch. So, or 70% of their business is lunch. It's doing very well in other places, and we hope to bring it here. Any questions other than?
I'm sure we'll get to that, as you probably saw from the previous one. Is there anything else you'd like to describe about the?
The building is brand new, and it works out very well for us. From the picture you can see here, you'd enter on the south side and then take a left and walk through the bar, finishing where it makes the L there, and all of the kitchen is in the back. We take deliveries from the east side, the door over there, as far as for our kitchen. But the unique part about the restaurant too is that all of the food is prepared by 10:30. It's not a regular restaurant where you place an order and things are cooked a la minute. So it's a heavy prep kitchen and very, very light usage in the afternoons. We don't own a fryer. It's an oven, a grill, and 2 burners. So it's a very healthy, wholesome place, lunch option for people.
Good, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this matter? Nope. Okay. We will start with Commissioner Steilen.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
You surprised me.
I like to surprise you.
I really like the concept. I think, something like that would be really unique in town, and I look forward to having you here. However, I do have a problem with the parking adjustments. I mean, we've gone to the nth degree recently to redo our parking because we found out that in certain cases in smaller size shopping centers, a good tenant comes in with a lot of business, and then all of a sudden, because of lack of parking, it does have an impact on the other business tenants of the unit. And that bothers me in this particular instance. I'm not sure if we could, do some analysis on the hours of operation of this business and their peak times and the peak times of the other businesses, and see if we could do some compromise in adjusting based upon that kind of discussion. I'd love to do that, but if it's just coming in for a flat variation of 10 to 20 some odd, having spent all that time in working on this issue, I just don't see how I can go along with it. The only exception to that, again, if we can't find a balance, how many other tenants are there in that shopping center? Do we know roughly? 10, 11? If we asked the other tenants of the shopping center to voluntarily give up one of their parking allocations so that this tenant could, come in and do his business, and that they understand if there was any impact on parking, that it would be, something that they would pre-agree to, then I'd consider that as well, that the other businesses are willing to adjust to the impact that hopefully a good tenant will bring. And I think you will. I think this is really something that's needed.
Thank you. I think that, I would just say that I'm not privy to a lot of the parking information, but that's stuff, it's certainly something you look at when you're deciding if the spot is right for you. And the way I went about deciding this spot is Starbucks is our neighbor. They're early morning. We are very complimentary with Starbucks. They're our customers, anybody who goes in there. So their early morning, we're heavy lunch, light dinner, and then you look at, there's a banquet hall, they're heavy dinner. And I mean, Subway, and then also I spent a lot of time sitting in the parking lot in different times, and, you know, I've never counted more than 20 cars with the current people. So, you know, so from the outside looking in, I, you know, had no doubt that there was enough parking for my use.
We've had some opportunities, let me just say, recently with some coffee houses that have developed along our major thoroughfares that seem to be taking up a little more than, I don't want to say more than their fair share,
Right.
but during the morning hours, they seem to be causing some slight problems. So, again, that's my concern. I'd like to, you know, hear what the other commissioners think and see if we could come to some kind of balance, but right now, I'm unfortunately not in favor. But hopefully, we can come to some kind of arrangement. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Zangara.
I also agree. I think the concept's great. The couple issues that I would see or recommend possibly is, I'm taking that the main entrance is up on the south side there. And we all know how cold this winter's been. Is there a thought of maybe doing a vestibule somehow? Because you open that door, you're going to freeze everyone sitting down.
It's not a full vestibule. It's not shown very well here, but there is a half wall on the other side of the booth. Okay. So it's really more a three-quarter wall with a plate glass on top of it. So it's not a full vestibule. What we ran into is you know, it's 2,200 square feet, and if we want to do a vestibule, we'd like a couple hundred more square feet. But it's a great spot, so we were trying to design around that. But that was the thought of the wall kind of blocking the door.
And then do you do any catering?
We do. Yeah, we'll deliver for orders over $100, and we have a whole catering menu where we deliver wraps and salads to local businesses.
Okay. Other than that, like I said, the plan looks really well. Concept's great. The parking issue, I know there's the parking issues, but I see, when I saw it, you know, there's all the residential there. I see a lot of people even just walking there. And, you know, that's why I was worried about catering too, you know, which really helps out a lot too. A lot of these businesses, you know, fax in an order or something, it's
right.
quick.
And something that we also do is online ordering. So you can go on your computer, go through the line as it's laid out in the restaurant, click on what you want, and it'll be ready for you in 10 minutes when you come pick it up. It's already paid, you just show your receipt. And then, so it's, you know, there's, people are, I worked 5 weeks there in January, went down to Houston, and people are in and out really quickly. It's definitely the lunch spot, either pick up or sit down and get back within an hour, so.
That's good, and I kind of had the same thought you did with the parking that we talked about, you know, and same thing is hours. Starbucks might be in morning, your afternoon, you know. I guess we just have to really see how the peak times are with all the other businesses, but other than that, I'm all for it, so I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Commissioner Powers.
Thanks. I kind of echo the same comments with the parking. I love the concept. I could see going there myself. I think it's great. It just, the parking is a concern because to me, there's a couple of, no, it's not really your fault, but, you know, Starbucks hasn't opened yet, Stella's. And I'm just not sure, you know, what kind of traffic that's going to attract and how that would affect the parking situation. The only other question I would have on top of that would be, where do you take deliveries, like get your product delivered? Where do you see on this plan, where would you be taking deliveries?
Where the arrow is right there, you walk in straight to the kitchen door, and take a right into the walk-in cooler. And so deliveries are early mornings or in the evenings, late evenings.
Is that the drive-through lane, Andrew, or no? Or is that the west side? Where's the drive-through? No, the drive-through lane's there, but you still have cars coming around there by that door, don't you? To get into the back of the building for the drive-through?
Yeah, there was no site plan in the packet.
The drive-through is over here.
Yeah.
Drive-through for
So you can-
Starbucks is on this, if you're looking, this is the east, so their delivery door would be this.
So the cars going into the drive-through, where are they going to be directed? Are they going to be directed over by the fire hydrant and going towards the back there? I mean, is
They actually
that
come
a
from
potential way?
They actually come from the next aisle, where the camera is sitting. They come from this aisle. The entrance to the drive-through is kind of hidden in the snow here. But this general area, this angle here is where the drive-through comes in.
Yeah, but I guess you could keep people coming by the fire hydrant and then like hooking around too. And if there's a truck there, I guess they would just have to go down and go around. It's really the only comment I have. Like I said, I love the idea. It's just the parking is, boy, it's really a tough one for me. That's it.
Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. I agree with the parking variations, but I think in the long run, because I think it's such a wonderful idea there, I think it's an excellent use for the property. I think it's going to be self-regulating. I think that, but I walk down there a lot in the good weather, and so I'm familiar with the shopping center. And the uses that are already existing there, a lot of them are in and out. You know, there really aren't anything that people stay. The cleaners, you've got Subway down at the end, you've got the currency exchange, you've got those kinds of things that aren't constant use, or somebody's going to stay any length of time. So I just don't, while I don't like to give variations for parking, I just don't think it's going to be a problem. And I do think, I love the idea, I think it's a perfect place. I think it's really needed there, and I think it's great.
Thank you. I mean, that's what I looked at when I was shopping for the space too, is that the places that are currently in business aren't places that people go and stay 2-3 hours, or we think it's a great spot for us and for our business model, so.
I'm done, thank you.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also like the concept, been waiting for something like this to come into the village for quite a while, because we have to travel pretty far to go to some of your competitors. But a few things, will you be providing any soups?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, so you're gonna have soup and salad and some wraps?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we have.
The time between Memorial Day and Labor Day, there's a lot of bicycle traffic. We got bicycle lanes through Lexington. You've got quite a number of complexes, both all around you. As I looked at that, as you look at this picture here that's up, on the extreme left is one bar. Is that the bicycle rack? Andrew?
There is one there.
Yeah, there's one on both sides of the south, the south side of the building. No, it would be to the left of that, but there's only the one, right?
Right.
I would think that you would probably need, maybe a couple more, but yeah, there's one. No,
Does Starbucks have one as well on their side?
is there one on each corner?
Yes, number one. If there's not, that's a good idea, we can do it. But across where the pantry used to be and Stella's is proposed to go,
Yeah.
it's an indentation in the building.
Could you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry, there's an indentation there in the building. There's a cutback in that portion of the building. There's a mailbox there.
Okay.
There's a bike rack area there or around the corner on the sidewalk area.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you
The
got,
area, obviously, we can put 3 in.
Yeah, okay.
The one in the inline area could be twice this size,
Yeah,
but it's a good idea.
yeah, I think that you'll need the bicycle rack.
Would you, how about increasing the size of the existing bike rack?
That would work, I would think.
Yep.
Yeah. I would just, something along that lines. I noticed that on your hours of operation, you have no Sunday hours. You don't intend to open at all on Sunday?
I think it depends on the business. They started as a Monday through Friday, just totally business, catering to businesses, and they've morphed into more neighborhood places starting Monday through Saturday, and then now their most popular ones are opening on Sunday. So they like to do a progression to make sure the restaurant's full for the 6 days and then open on the Sunday.
Okay, but for the intent and purposes, I would suggest Sunday hours. Sunday through Saturday, just, and do it now and get it over with. Whether you open or not is at your discretion.
Okay.
But I'd hate to see you have to come back to say, hey, I want to open on Sunday, changing your hours. That would be my thought on that.
Okay. Can we change the request
Yeah.
at this time?
That's why I brought it up.
Thank you.
So better to do it now than to, mess with it later.
Okay.
Okay, here comes the hitter. In 2015, Cook County is going to widen Lake Cook Road, and that's just to your north. That road right there is going from 3 lanes to 6 lanes. Parking is going to be a premium. You've got any number of stalls that are not available because of the big snow. I don't anticipate this being an every year occurrence, but I would think for the next couple of years, 2015, 2016, as long as this road construction is going on, you're going to have people taking up parking in that parking lot. Unless, of course, you ban that, and I don't see how you're going to do that. Sure.
Who's going to park in the parking lot?
If you could speak
Construction
into the-
workers.
That are working on Lake Cook Road?
Yeah,
In our parking lot?
yeah, I can see it. Where are they going to park?
Well, they're not going to park in the parking lot.
I see. Okay.
Okay. And
Good luck on trying to get those people out of there, but, that's, as I see it, they're,
we've had it before.
sure. And you're going to have it.
If you could speak into the microphone,
Yeah.
sir.
Sorry.
That's
Okay.
all right.
We've had it before, when they did the work before.
Yeah,
And, at that point, we worked with them. There wasn't that many. But we can't accommodate it.
I understand
They're
that.
going to have to find, and if they're going to do that, I would think that contractor is going to make plans, and there's a lot of options for them.
Yeah.
Hamilton has plenty across the way.
If you could,
Tons of them.
and
We
directing
own the
that
Harris
there.
Bank, we
Yeah.
own the Harris Bank building across the street. We have additional parking. We'll work with them on that.
Yeah, and the
But, I mean, we're not
parking,
going to go up and just, try to, we're going to work with them.
Yeah.
We're going to tell them,
Okay.
no, it's not. If we
But
put
just to-
signage or whatever, we
Yeah.
will. But we can't have that. I
Yeah.
mean, they can't park in our parking lot. But we
you're-
can give them alternatives.
yeah, but your business is going to increase because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want lunches. They're going to, and I can see the salad business, or, the restaurant business there in that building, and the Starbucks are going to be busy. But, you're still going to have that consideration. I would say after, when they get farther down, farther west, they're going to go to the next shopping center. They're going to park there. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's it. And that's going to be a long, tedious project.
In the past, we had construction out there. They came to us and said, look, can we have these spots?
Yeah.
and it was very controlled and organized, and it wasn't poaching, so to speak.
You got the daycare center there, and you've got the Hamilton Electric Company there,
Jacobson.
or Jacobson,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
You know, I just think it's common sense. They're going to come along, and if they try to do that, we're going to have to get with them, and we'll offer an alternative. Because if they'll tell us how many they need, as I said before, we have 2 parking lots across the street with the Harris Bank building. It's in Buffalo Grove. It's underutilized. I mean, common sense tells me, you know, here, guys, put your stuff, you know, park over here, this is how you do it.
yeah.
And it's a matter, and as long as they have a spot when they're working in our section, you know, I think we can work with them.
Yeah.
But we certainly can't accommodate in the retail.
Right. I brought this up just for you to be mindful
absolutely.
of that situation that's coming.
And when your questioning is done with Dan, I'd like to address the uses now from one end to the other.
You're not speaking into the microphone. And there's dozens of people out there that want to hear this.
At least.
And
On TV.
Well, let me just
Remember,
say, let me say that I'll walk you through, and I won't be redundant with what Pam said. We'll walk through it.
Okay. All right. Just to be mindful of that situation that's coming down the line.
We've had it before.
I hope they like salads.
I'm sorry?
I hope they like salads too, the construction workers.
I would think that they would.
And coffee, too.
You know,
Yeah,
they're
there
going
you
to be, they're going to be there.
There you go.
I have to check my notes and make sure that I'm covered here. Okay. Like I said before, I love the concept. Been waiting for it. The other thing that I would like to see is an overhaul of the landscape plan, and I'll direct this more to Mr. Jordan. The landscape plan, after they get finished with Lake Cook, with that Lake Cook Road project, that thing is going to be all torn up and trampled and everything. So I think, you know, a landscape plan after that Lake Cook project comes, because although they won't be working right there, but I mean, they'll be close, and it's going to be all messed up. So I was thinking is if you could bring back a comprehensive landscape plan, because I know that that's one of the few places where we could have landscaping, especially with some irrigation, along that north end of that shopping center.
Right.
Yeah,
I totally agree. We discussed that with Starbucks. And I think, you know, I agree.
I could almost.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I could almost say, hold off on the landscaping before you put it in, and instead of spending all that money and then having the county come back and having to redo a lot of it. I don't know what the consensus of the commission would be, but I would entertain that, but that would have to be kind of folded in.
All right. I'm going to have to get together with my partner, Steve Spina.
Right. And maybe.
we're going to have to landscape it.
Absolutely.
And irrigate it.
Yes.
And then I'm going to have to get with him and find out to what extent are they liable if they tear up what we've already done, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I think we really have to go ahead with the landscaping that's been approved and what we want the look to be.
And I don't think, just to follow up on that, I don't think that we actually have an expectation, unless someone has purchased construction easements from you. I'm not aware of that happening.
No.
So I don't think that they actually have the right to enter your property and disturb your landscaping. Usually when they do, they specifically note how they're going to restore it. You're not planting in the right-of-way. Your landscaping is on your property. As long as you're out of the right-of-way and they're required to be in the right-of-way, I don't see that that's going to be disturbed, and they would be liable.
On a minor scale, we had the same thing on the north side of Lake Cook Road, Buffalo Grove. There's the bike path and so on and so forth, and we had to deal with that with Harris Bank. It came out all right. It worked out well.
But they
there
did
was some, there was some destruction, so to speak.
But they did have a prior agreement which covered the restoration, correct?
Correct.
And I'm all right with that. I just wanted to also, just for you to be mindful that things happen.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I think most of my questions have been answered. Just a comment that it would have been nice to have the site plan in the packet with the most current parking lot layout to better visualize this. But other than that, good luck.
I have no comments either, though there was some questions around the parking, but my sense is that and this is the way I feel, that the parking is what it is, and to Commissioner Dorban's point that it's going to self-regulate, and in this case, because of where this landed, I feel if there would be a penalty if we didn't grant this variation from where I'm looking at not doing this. We talked about, Commissioner Steiner talked about talking to the other tenants and about taking away a spot. I don't know how we could legally do that, but I think Mr. Jordan was going to talk to them. I think that's sufficient to me, and based upon the times that I've been there, I haven't seen the increase in traffic, and as someone indicated, that a lot of that traffic there is stop in, there's a pizza place there, there's a Subway there, and I know in the future it could be different, but none of those places stay around long, and like this one. So I personally am okay with this. Commissioner Steinle?
Yeah, just a couple of comments, and I'll just go back and say, yeah, I believe you're right that it would be self-regulating, but what that means is it reaches a point and now somebody else has to suffer. And I think part of our job is to ensure that businesses that have already been in there don't suffer when, I think their expectation is that they're going to be allowed to use the parking that they're allocated to. The thing that I'd like to entertain, the petitioner has stated that, he owns or is involved with parking across the street. Is it possible to have a cross-access type agreement with, the building across the street that claims to have excess parking? It's in another town. I don't know how that deals with anything. But if we had some kind of cross-access agreement, just saying that 10 other spots were available somewhere, then I'd approve this without any kind of hesitation. Just wondering, Andrew, is that even possible being in another town?
I don't know the answer to that. I probably just about anything is possible, but I don't know that a covenant from one to the other necessarily has to be within the same municipal boundaries. Realistically speaking, though, it would be employee parking. I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly, and they've got a stoplight there, would be, and I know the bank people will probably be using Starbucks quite frequently, so there probably will be walking traffic between the two entities, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mr.
Just really quick, I don't know if everybody's aware, but behind the main inline shopping center, we have employee parking. And that's where the employees, owners of those businesses typically want to park.
Actually, that was going to be my comment, because as I've walked through there, very seldom do the employees use up all that parking behind there. And so I think there is quite a bit back there.
And let me also say this, if you start from the east and work your way west, Subway does not have much of any seating. Chinese restaurant has, I think, 6 chairs there. Most of their business, I was just with them a while ago, most of their business comes from carryout and delivery, a lot of delivery.
But all our parking calculations are based upon seating and occupancy and number of employees, which, have already been accounted for, I would hope.
Okay,
It isn't the fact that it's a building, it's the fact that it has seats and.
The other thing I wanted to say is, I know Norm brought up the Sunday hours, and I'd like to see you, I'm sure you will do so well, you'd want to do Sunday hours, because I think that's a niche that's really missing, especially there, because I know I would use it. Mr. Jordan, I do have a question for you, and that is because Starbucks and you will be using the garbage that isn't behind the building there where the employee parking is. And I guess staff is involved here too. Have we addressed the lighting back there so it's adequate? Because now we're going to have a lot more users using that back area.
The lighting right now is, those are sconces. And there are light standards poles to the west area. It's never come up before.
Yeah,
as far as being an issue, and there are light packs above the back doors. You have a distance of maybe, I think it's about 15 feet then to the enclosed garbage containers. And they're brick. I mean, they look nice. It's kept up well. I don't mean to, it just hasn't come up before as anybody having a problem back there.
Okay,
I think it's more than adequate,
Okay.
but if there was a concern of some sort, that's a matter of adding maybe some more light packs.
you must be thrilled that the way the shopping center is developing.
Takes a lot of money. And the winter's killed us. And it's being received well. And I've got a long ways to go to get everything straightened out, but we are, and the current tenants, several, are looking to stay. The rent isn't tripling. Most of the inline are already paying what we need to see on a pro forma to support $4.5 million going in. We want them to succeed. They really do need, the shopping center was built 30 years ago, and it really needs to be rehabbed. Had we sold the shopping center to somebody else a year ago, they would be in here doing the same thing. It needed a lot of work. Now, that outlot building, I don't know what the parking need is for food service versus medical, but if you recall, was it 15 years or more, we had a OBGYN clinic out there. So that was a lot of parking. I think, frankly, as much or more, all day long. This is noon. I don't think they have an evening business. Starbucks is morning. I think it spreads itself out, and I think that, I think the perception, which is the normal perception, that every shopping center's got a parking problem. But the way we have it working for us, and always has, you don't have a lot of parking intensity with the uses that are there, number one. Number two, I think a lot of his business is going to be carryout. He's experienced that in describing his business and looking into it. Previously, they have an awful lot of carryout. And I think what he wants to try and do maybe is tap that morning rush hour coming through Starbucks and have, and I think they're going to do that with pre-made, here's your lunch. You don't have to leave your Bannockburn office, because a lot of people we're the last stop before you get to the tollway. And as I said before, with the other food services we have, there's limited or virtually no seating there at all. You go into Subway, you get your food, you leave. Chinese, that's delivery. Most of their business is done, send it out in a car. That's all I have to say.
Just back to the parking, I'm just going to take a poll here just to find out. And the question is, do we ask petitioner to pursue other alternatives for parking? Yes or no? Commissioner Dorban?
Well, I don't want to turn it down for the parking, but I would certainly like him to look for alternative as well.
So you're saying yes?
I guess that's a yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Commissioner Zangara?
No, I think it's okay right now.
Commissioner Johnson?
I think it's okay.
Mr. Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Powers.
Powers,
yes.
I'm sorry, Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
I say no, but, so that's 4-3 that want to.
But my question to that, are we turning it down because we want him to look at our alternative? Or are we giving him the option to look at it and approving
Do
it?
we have some options here?
Well, you have any variety of options.
Yeah, we have a variety of options.
You've got, the suggestions that have been made are analyze the parking to determine use spread throughout the day at the shopping center before entertaining a vote. That was one suggestion that was made. You always have the option of recommending that the seats be reduced when it goes to the board, thus reducing the distance in the variation. You have the option of specifying in the recommendation for the special use that the type of operation, specifically salads and lunch, concentrating in lunch traffic, be very specifically called out as a condition of approval, so that a restaurant that operates in a dissimilar fashion could not take this unit. So you have any number of options available to you.
Commissioner Stein, you had a comment?
I'm just wondering if we could ask the petitioner if there is any potential for, I'll just say, having emergency off-site parking available somewhere. I mean, if that's a possibility that you could, find out what kind of.
When it came up, and I said we could do something for the construction people across, that's what I specifically meant it for. Now, if this is for employee parking, there's a possibility across the street with Harris Bank. I don't know how much pounds of flesh they want from me for this, but there will be something. And if it's necessary, but I, quite honestly and frankly, I would prefer not to go to them with this idea unless it was perceived to be in everybody's best interest. Let me put it that way. Would they cooperate with me? We've had a 30-year relationship with them. They might. They probably would, because the additional parking we secured for them is, I would say, 60% used.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with that lot. It's actually leased land from Hamilton, so we don't own it. We lease it from them. They couldn't sell it to us. Is it possible that they would give us a dozen spots over there? I wouldn't I wouldn't say no, but I have to find out. And it always comes with it always comes with something.
Unfortunately, we're like bean counters.
Sure.
We need 10.
Jacobson Electric has no parking. If they really don't. So I wouldn't even, I wouldn't, they park in our lot, and that's the problem. And we don't throw them out.
We need 10.
So that's a critical problem, I want to say for the third time, but go ahead.
We need 10 beans, whether they ever get used or not,
And although, employee parking is at the kinder care. I don't think the kids drive over. So,
Have you ever had any complaints from
No.
any of your tenants?
no.
yeah, but we've got a
I
lot
have
of,
had, no, what they complain about is not enough traffic and not enough business. But
Who's your biggest tenant there as far as parking stalls? Is it that banquet hall?
well, the banquet hall is at nights on the weekends, so they would be the least. I mean, their use of the parking lot is in off hours to the rest of the center.
In terms of the total count,
The total count, yeah.
Who's the largest user?
Yeah, I would assume.
It's all about equal. If you were talking about a Saturday, especially before the holidays, maybe the beauty salon. The cleaners is in and out. I've been in there for 30, 40 minutes with the Kims, and I see people come in and out like a post office. I mean, it's just quick. That is the shopping center. People are in and out frequently, 5 minutes or less. I mean, if you, the tutoring group, math and science, logic, that's at night. And those are 8th grade, say, through seniors in high school, juniors.
Andrew, is the banquet facility, the nighttime use already considered into their parking calculations at all? That would be an interesting trade-off.
banquet, so the calculation, which I apologize, I do not have in front of me, the parking calculation for the shopping center, and this is the code, not what you were describing is the flow of demand. The flow of demand is sort of the reality of how things work right now and how it functions. The parking table for the shopping center, right now, the largest single user as far as that table is concerned is the banquet facility. Due to the number of seats, they're not frequently used seats, but due to the number of seats, they have the largest share of the total pie right now.
But when?
The parking table is out of
No, I
time.
meant like XO Banquet
Right.
they are, even if they had 2 banquets going at once, on a Friday or a Saturday night or a Sunday night, these are 7 o'clock maybe, assembling, till, I don't know what. But I mean, we've never had,
And I think you're asking.
as you asked, I mean, we've never had a problem.
Mr. Chairman, any chance we could table this and let Andrew see if he might be able to come up with some way to balance out the usage that's reasonable?
Yeah, the balancing factor, I mean, I can tell you without even looking at the table that the balancing factor is the banquet hall. It has a parking variation itself, but its seating is, I think they have something in the neighborhood of 100 seats. So their parking demand is more than twice the combination of this outbuilding. So it's a big number.
But they are a nighttime use, not a,
They do not operate as a restaurant. They
not
operate,
during the lunchtime operation.
I would say possibly even 9. The banquets that they hold tend to be later. But yes, that is what this will show. And we certainly can do that, but that is what you will find from it, is that
Do they have stipulations on their hours, Andrew?
they have a special use right now that has, I would have to read it exactly, see what it is. I know that they have the description of the business was, their intention was to have food available during the day. I don't know that they ever actually did, but they intended to be primarily parties.
And if
And their
that's-
weekends.
They're primarily Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
If
It's
somebody,
run
if somebody else were to go in there, would that special use just stick with it and then they have to come back for something else?
Yes, they have a special use. I think it was most recently updated. They added a stage and combined the two units together. May have been the last time they updated their special use. I'd have to look at it to see exactly what it says, but
That was in 96 or 7. They've never been open during the day. I mean, literally, the doors are locked. They do banquet, weddings, receptions, various things. I don't even know if it's that popular on Friday. I think it's Saturday and Sunday for the most part. You have to understand, it's a group of really 2 people. They can't physically do that much business and run that business. But they do well enough.
Interesting. There seems to be a lot of discussion around this, so, Andrew, I think we would like to table this to see if we can somehow find some parking here. Now, I'm gonna take the motion, and whether people want to table it or not will be a determining factor here. So, but just to be clear to the petitioner that, in general, the commission is in favor of the concept, but there is some concern on some of the commissioners around the parking. So, things like possibly working with XO, but I don't know how you would do that without doing a variation for them or reducing their use, or a cross-access with Harris Bank would be another possibility. Yes.
But we've done these kind of time allocation trade-offs in the past, and I don't know that we've held anybody physically accountable, right? I think we've more or less balanced things out ourselves, but at least had some kind of well-defined objective for what the change is, as long as we could document it, I think.
Document it before it goes to the board.
Yeah.
Do you understand what we're looking for, Mr. Jennings? And do you understand, sir, what we're
I think so.
Yeah, we understand what we're looking for. We understand.
We'll do whatever we can to
Right.
get the right answer, but
So I would like to make a motion to, well, there's a motion to table.
It's a motion to continue to it. We need a specific date. It is a public hearing.
Did you make that motion, Jim?
I'm looking for I'm looking for a motion.
Okay, because I have not heard a motion.
Right, no.
I'll make that motion as soon
But
as
we need-
Andrew comes up with a date for us.
Would that be the 13th?
The 13th, we have a fairly major item on. The 20th, so put it out a month.
I mean, it shouldn't really be,
It shouldn't take that long.
it shouldn't take that long, as long as we
Your
can
other
get all
option is
the...
take a recess for 10 minutes.
we're looking to
and
go
let
as
me go
fast as
downstairs
possible.
and find
We're
the.
hoping.
You want to take a recess for 10 minutes?
If you take a recess for 10, I could probably find the table.
Okay, great. We're going to take a
sounds
break
like
for
a
10
better
minutes.
idea.
Can I ask one question before I go on?
Yes.
What is your timeline for getting in there and,
Well, if approved, we were hoping to be approved, I believe, March 13th at the board meeting. I have architects working right now on the final plans for permit, and we were hoping to be open by mid-June.
okay. Thank you.
If you give me a moment, I will be back.
10 minute.
bring us back.
Yes. Mr. Jennings, you have some information that you just passed out to us.
So what you see in front of you, and I apologize for not having this for our home audience, what you see in front of you is the table, the parking calculation table. The far right column is the column that you're essentially concerned with when you're looking at a parking variation, typically. The column called required spaces is the pre-variation requirement for each of the uses. So if you look at the pre-variation requirement for the sum of the uses at the shopping center, it is 217. The post-variation requirement for the sum of the uses at the shopping center is 167. So as I was saying before we took our recess, the unit in the middle there, the XO restaurant unit, has a requirement of 64. The bulk of that requirement is based on the seating in the banquet half of the restaurant. There are 130 seats on the banquet side of the restaurant. There are 46 seats on the other half of the restaurant. Now that restaurant only functions as a banquet. It does not have regular hours. That special use allows them to be open. They are not. But the special use is not transferable the way that it is for most special uses. So that special use has a restriction on it that notes that it expires should they cease operation. So it is not a typical special use unless there's a condition like this in it. A typical special use can be picked up by another tenant. So in this case, that one cannot be. So what you have, if I could try to explain what happened between the approval of the building and today, the Starbucks came in and did not require variation. So you see their pre-variation and post-variation number are the same. The Stellas came in and did not require variation. So the entire burden of the variation essentially fell to this unit. So that gap of 21 stalls fell to this unit. Whereas up until the change in the code, everything balanced out at 146, the reduction disappeared, and that all fell to this particular unit. And that's what we were suggesting is something that should probably be addressed in the code. Having that ability for the entire burden fall on one unit.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Interesting.
Andrew, the 146 parking provided that you got here,
Yes,
does that include the employee parking in the back?
it does.
It does.
Can I ask if Jacobson and KinderCare are actual parking count that is in existence today?
Their parking count is not part of the table. They're thrown in the bottom.
They park on our lot.
They do. But they have,
Throw them out
right.
because we have plenty of parking. It's never become a burden. And I don't want to be a policeman either. And there's some degree of just let it go and be a good neighbor. But they park, their customer parks in our parking lot. You're familiar with it, very familiar, where our monument sign is. Because their front door faces
Right.
west.
Right.
It's just easy. They don't have parking in the back to speak of. That building doesn't really, I don't think it conforms to code, but that's my opinion. KinderCare, I don't know too much about them. They're as quiet as you can imagine. They're in the back, and we've never had a complaint from any of our tenants about it, so we, live and let live. Lake County Physical Therapy is no longer there, that's vacant. XO's been there, I think, 14 years. They've never been open during the day in 14 years. Their doors are locked during the day. Jed's Pizza has no seat. They deliver and people pick up. Pretty much the case with Subway, pretty much the case with, definitely the case with the Chinese restaurant. A great deal of their business is delivered to Buffalo Grove, Lincolnshire, parts of Wheeling there.
But you understand that, for example, Jet's Pizza, they're allocated 11 parking spaces based upon their 6 employees and 5 carry-out parking spaces, which, you know, another business could occupy a lot more parking. They don't have any seating, so they're down to 11. So, I mean, we fine-tune the parking requirements to try to give everybody equal access
And
to
I
parking.
appreciate that very much, but if we had a problem, I would have a lot of these customers either vacating or complaining to the village, complaining to me, getting a lawyer and coming after us. We don't have that. I mean, I've been associated with it for 26 years.
And that's because our parking calculation computations are hopefully pretty good, right?
Well, it works.
Exactly.
And if it works as a result of this, God bless you, thank you, I appreciate it. But I think it's a matter of us managing it well too, and making sure that we don't. I've turned down, we get inquiry for leases, and if they don't fit, we don't discuss it. I mean, it's as simple as that. You can't create, you can't pretend that you don't have a problem and move on with it. You can't do that. I've had office buildings that we've leased to Motorola in the heydays of the 80s and 90s. Far worse problem you can imagine. It's not working.
Andrew, what the XO typical hours of operation today are after 5 p.m., would you
Oh,
say?
yeah.
They're
Typically.
Like 9 o'clock.
They're typically 8, 9 o'clock Friday, Saturday.
So if we can roughly say that these 29 spots that they're allocated after variation are really not used until after 7 p.m., whatever, by the time half of these other businesses have gone to bed and aren't using their spots anyway, and the fact that the special use for XO goes away when that operation ceases, I would be willing to allow this variation to go through as long as, you know, those other things remain relatively the same. I don't think we can do anything to force XO to
No,
only
can't.
open.
And I don't think we can put anything in the special use for around that. But I think based upon this, I think we see that I'm fairly
It would
comfortable with
work
it.
out.
Right, okay.
And the other thing I just want to point out about the calculation is what you see when you look at that right column is the timing. Starbucks, when it was approved with the different code, there was no variation required. It's fairly similar requirement, pre-variation, to this particular use. And that's something that you get on other units as well. The older a unit is, the more likely that it took up spaces that were not yet assigned to something else, obviously. So as the units fill up, that available parking starts to go down to where the way our requirement works, it's sort of the last one in who pays the price. And that's when we talked about the parking code, that is the situation that the staff suggestion was to try to figure out a way to deal with that, just
Right.
outside of any petitioner discussion, just try to figure out a way to deal with where the burden is placed.
Yes, exactly. So based upon that, I'm going to ask again, do we need any modifications to the park variation, Commissioner Dorban? Do we need them to look into anything else?
Repeat that again.
Do we need the petitioner to look into any type of parking, what was the term I used before?
Alternative?
Alternatives. Thank
I
you.
don't think so, based on,
What you have here, Commissioner Zangara?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Nope.
Commissioner Stylen?
I would still like to know if an agreement could be reached with the emergency parking across the street. Say yes.
Okay, Commissioner Powers
I would agree with Commissioner Snyland.
and Commissioner Schaff?
No, but I have a comment afterwards.
Okay, and I don't think there's anything necessary either. Thank you. You have a comment? You had a couple of questions.
I have a question.
And-
The parking calculation is for 6 employees. Requires 21 for 6. Your business plan says, where did I read? 10 to 12 hourly employees. 2 salary men, are they on all the time, or?
No, 2 different shifts.
Oh,
Two
okay,
different
so
shifts
you're
and
looking-
staggered,
So there are only at one time 6 to 7 employees?
correct. Right, yeah. At night is 30% of the business, so we go down to bare bones, just a closing staff. There's no preparation, just maintenance and cleaning, so.
Okay. That was my only,
But Commissioner Schaff, you had some other questions.
well, it was just
can ask.
an operation type thing. This is not a self-serve, they don't come along and,
Absolutely not.
okay, so your employees actually make the salads?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
That was my,
That's a good
and,
point. Actually, I had thought you walked through and made it yourself, but,
yeah, but I looked at the number of employees
okay,
and
good point.
you know, because a self-serve type thing would be less employees because they would be filling up their plates or
Right.
baskets or whatever, but you do that.
Right. It's the heart of our concept, and I think it's why we're much better than a salad bar.
Okay.
You know, you don't have someone else in front of you drop the tongs in the salad and mix it.
Right, yeah,
It's controlled, clean, and sanitary.
True.
Yeah. Okay, that was the basis of, that's the
question.
one thing I forgot.
No, it's a good question. But just one last thing on the parking. I think this just illustrates how we need to really go back and revisit this and work through a gap like this that we need to get this resolved. Because to Commissioner Stylen point, you know, we worked very hard on trying to get something solid for us that we wouldn't have this, but in this case, because of the timing of it, it fell into the crack, and
Yeah, and it's certainly not something we anticipated. Had we thought that something like this might have happened, we obviously would have warned the planning commission of the, you know, we would have.
Right.
We would have resolved it at the time, so it's not something we saw coming.
Are there any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion on 2014-4A variations from Title 19 zoning related to minimum parking? Do we have any, we don't have any,
so moved.
we don't have any conditions?
Not on this
The
one.
bicycle,
Right, condition, that would probably be special, on this.
On the special
site,
use?
Yeah, right.
okay.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dorban, second by Commissioner Schaff. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaff?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Johnson says yes. Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen?
No.
Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
Chairman Rufato?
Yes.
6 yes,
2000
1 no.
2014-4B, special use approval for a sit-down restaurant. Before I make a motion, conditions?
Yes, and this is the first, I guess, exterior condition that we have to test our system of dealing with a motion. So
Yes.
what we had discussed when we had an exterior condition was to explicitly point out that there is an exterior condition related to the bike rack, and just make sure that everyone on the commission, all the members of the commission understood that that condition, we could certainly direct the petitioner to show a bike rack on their plan, or leave it in as a condition when it goes to the board. So with that, I would open up that discussion.
You're asking me to poll the commission to see if they wanted the plan changed?
Yeah, would the preference be to go ahead and change that
Right.
or leave it as a condition of approval?
Commissioner Dorban, the
So-
question is, and this is for everybody, I wasn't directing it at you.
That's all right, because my hearing's bad.
Right. The question is, there's the exterior changes, the increase in size of the bike rack. And the question is, do we leave it as a condition, or do we require the petitioner to make the change before it goes to the board? And then it'll be reflected in the plans, but it won't be, so there's a difference than what we saw here.
Except that we are now attaching whatever conditions we put on this.
Yes.
That automatically go with goes to the board
Right.
in.
Commissioner Stadler, you have a question?
Seeing as how we don't have a site plan, so there's nothing to change. However, I believe the site plan probably shows a bike rack. It doesn't say how many bikes can be put in the rack, nor,
So it should be a condition. I think it
I
should,
think a condition would.
a condition with increase in size of the bike rack would be the appropriate way to do
Or
it.
just to say the bike rack should
Right.
accommodate
Yes.
Yes,
double the number of.
double the number, yes. So it should be a condition instead of,
As long as the conditions stay with the site plan
It
and
will.
goes forward to the board, that's what we put on there, goes to them, and that's what they see. I'm
Right.
fine with it.
Okay, so the conditions then are, number one, that the changes to the operation, specifically the menu and food preparation style, may result in the requirement of additional dedicated dry storage and an exterior grease basin. Number two, that the petitioner add a second bike rack for the outbuilding. Number three, that the hours of operation may be extended to include Sunday hours.
is that okay with the conditions? Okay, great. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Chairman. Second.
Where's the tie?
Commissioner Stylin, do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dorban. Motion was made by Commissioner Stylin, second by Commissioner Dorban. Commissioner Stylin?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Good job.
Yeah, it was my own, it's been such a long time since we've had,
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I say yes. Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
And Chairman Rafano.
yes. Motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You still have to go back, you have to go before the board.
Okay.
But that should be easy.
That should be released.
I don't know.
Well, let's say it'll be easier than here,
Yeah.
or it should be easier than here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep, good luck to you.
Good.
It's a great concept.
Yes. Looking forward to it. I think Dan has something for you.
Oh,
At least get a nice
thank you, Mr. Jordan.
go across the street. At least we talked about it, so.
It's nice looking.
Yeah. I assume they're coming back before us with signage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Andrew, thank you. I think,
That was very
I
helpful.
think this helped a lot.
Yeah, it did.
That was the other guy that said.
And I think the projected date for this would be March 17th with the board. So pencil it in, and then we'll be in touch with you as we finalize that date. Okay?
Antibiotics.
And a much-needed concept in Wheeling.
Steroids.
It'll be excellent.
I'm so disgusted.
Maybe they kind of said what they were closed because they realized they weren't in Lake County.
Could be.
Just get that initial advertising out, and I think word of mouth will spread like wildfire.
And you've got a perfect opportunity because there are a lot
I'm
of
so disgusted.
multifamily residences all around there. And
To see this.
Both sides of the street.
both sides of the street.
Great.
And you got the
Yeah.
bank
All right.
people, you know will be there, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they'll just walk right across the street.
And it doesn't compete directly with anybody else, any of our other customers, any of our other tenants.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Subway.
Oh.
It's difficult to find the variety.
Yes.
It's different. It's different.
The synergism there with Starbucks.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
Did you like it? But you see, they cannot fire him. They have to give him some kind of
Fresh Oak Vinaigrette is our most popular,
help.
which is great, and then this ginger lime is
good thing we approved it.
Thank you.
And as I said, we'll be in touch with you regarding the date of the board meeting. Should be March 17th, and we'll discuss the bike rack.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Next on the agenda, approval of minutes, February 13th, 2014. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Abstain.
One abstain. Thank you. Other business, Mr. Jennings?
The board meeting, I believe I sent an email out. The board meeting Monday night, we're anticipating a concept review for a planned unit development. It should be an assisted living building located in the vacant land east of Shir Hadash Synagogue. Previously was the site of a commercial PUD known as the Wheeling Galleria. So if you would like to follow along online or come to the meeting, you could see the opening discussion of that particular item.
Great. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Nothing for now, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Stalin, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things. And again, I just want to thank Andrew for that parking calculation. I think that really helped explain a lot of the problems. And I also want to thank him. I noticed that we now have dates on the plans, whether they be received by community development stamps or the red stamp indicating something at least we could refer to. Thank you, Andrew, for doing that. Now I just have a couple of other things that I'd like you to try and take care of. As I was going through both of the documents tonight, especially the exercise place, trying to figure out how big those aisle widths were on the side of the building. There were absolutely no measurements on the plan except for a little thing that said 1 inch equals 40 feet. And, you know, as you zoom in and whatever, what is 1 inch? It's really difficult to tell how big aisleways are or whatever, because there's nothing on the plan that showed what their definition of 1 inch is. And on the the other document this evening, Salads, they had 1 inch equals 20 feet. But no other measurements that you could at least try to compare what 1 inch or 20 feet is. So if you could somehow work out something to show how long 1 inch is or show how long 20 feet is on the plans, so we could use that as kind of a yardstick.
Sure, we also have, on any given petition, we may have a handful of other documents that we don't pass along. We have surveys, we have other things that are dimensioned. We can always double check. If you guys have questions leading up to a meeting, we can always double check those. But the Salata one, for example, I think actually did have dimensions. The plan itself has, there's some doorways, the walls are dimensioned, the aisles inside the restaurant, I think, are dimensioned.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't transfer that to other plans. So I mean, just.
Yeah, we can try to be more careful about making sure that at least, if you've got 2 plans, make sure that one of them has dimensions on it.
Or if you know that the aisle width is 40 feet, then we can use that as a standard.
Sure.
Something like that. The other thing that I'd like to remind you of is the Monday night assisted living review with the village board. And I just want to remind the village board and the plan commission that due to the interaction of the mixed-use general district requirements and the planned unit development ordinances, that once the village board has viewed the concept plan as part of that concept review Monday night, that the facade masonry requirements shall be solely determined during that concept review, even though there is no formal village board approval associated with that concept review. So that's, in my opinion, after the village board's concept review meeting on Monday night, the facade and masonry changes can't be made to any of the building plans by the plan commission. So if there's a concern about masonry or anything, take a look at the village board packet and, let either attend the meeting and sign up for, the fact that you'd like to say something, or let Andrew know. I'm sure, Andrew, you can slip a note or 2 into their packet.
Sure, the petitioner is aware in this case. This particular building is a masonry building. It's 4-side brick structure. It has, there's a stone accent line at the bottom, and then they've got a small area of the building, sort of an entryway that has a standing seam roof on it. But in this particular case, they're approaching 100%. But they're aware that they're by opening this discussion with the building shown as a full brick building, that is what they're proposing from this point. So, and I will remind them of that. It's been a few weeks since we talked about it, so I will remind them of that before Monday night.
And then maybe sometime in the future, we could look into adjusting that text.
It is on the list.
Okay.
It's on the future code
And that
amendment
makes
list.
sense, yeah, right.
So that,
Because as long as we, saying it now, but if you could convey that to John and staff who's here, that they're reminded of that, that'd be great.
Sure.
Do that.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's my only comment.
Great. Commissioner Schaaf?
Thank you. First off, I won't be here for the meeting on the 13th.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so if you could stop just for a second. Because I'm also not going to be here on the 13th. Is there anybody that is not going to be here on the 13th of March right now that we know? Granted, something could occur. Everybody else is going to be here? Okay, great, thank you. Go ahead. Thank you.
as I pointed out in my little note to you and Andrew and Brooke, the whole PUD concept, I think, needs to be reviewed or at least those two items need to be reviewed. But the underlying problem is, or not a problem, but my concern is, does the board wish the Plan Commission to be in this process? Because right now, we are not in this PUD process. It comes before the board. There are items that are approved, and, we are left with no choice but to accept those. And if that's the wishes of the board, I'm fine with that.
And they don't even vote to approve it.
Right, and they don't, and as Terry pointed out, they don't even need to approve it. So something has to be, discussed, especially between the PC and the board. My only comments, thank you.
Well, if we look at the ordinances for the PUD and make those changes, then
I'm
that
sorry,
takes
Jim, I
care.
couldn't hear
If we make changes to the PUD process, that the concept review does not set anything, then we address Commissioner Schaaf's problem. Are you talking specifically about this PUD or in general?
All of them.
Any.
Yeah,
Right,
all
so,
of them.
okay, so if we work towards that,
That should,
that should alleviate
Yes.
the issue.
And the funny thing is, it isn't in the PUD part of the ordinance. It's in the MXT part.
Right, it's in the MXT, right. So hopefully that will address the issue.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Dorban?
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Powers?
Thank you. One thing, Andrew, thanks again for the parking calculation. It helped out a lot. I would hope that the discussion that we had when we asked the petitioner to possibly pursue parking across the street for employees, I would hope that would at least make it into the meeting minutes somehow, to at least know that we discussed it as a possibility, so if it came to that point, that we could go back and say, well, we did talk about that. I just hope that would make it in there. The last thing I have is the establishment in Lynn Plaza between Bargains in the Box and Sugar Hills Bakery.
Turner?
Yeah. How long has that business been there?
4 years?
Okay. As I just was kind of surprised as I hadn't seen the sign on the facade, and I don't remember ever approving that. So if it's been, beyond, when I started to serve her, that's fine. I just thought something went in there that we didn't approve. So it's been there, that's fine. I have nothing else.
Commissioner Zangar?
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
I just had one question. Andrew, have you heard anything from Garden Fresh regarding their catering thing now that they're pulling their store out of there?
It is one of the questions we have.
Oh, okay. 'Cause, yeah.
Our health officer actually has a fairly close relationship due to the inspections. So she sees them more regularly than we do, and I believe she was going to attempt to find out at her next inspection exactly what was happening.
Okay, that's all I had.
I have a couple of things.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I did forget two things, may I? So sorry.
Of course.
Actually, 2 meetings ago, I don't know if anybody of you were watching, but President Argyris thanked the Plan Commission for all their hard work on the marijuana piece, and so I meant to pass that along. And, pardon me?
Smoking it or no? Oh, okay. Thanks.
And the other thing was, I happened to have a discussion with Lori Hazelwood, and she offered her services to help us with our RFP when it comes back.
Oh, great.
And I thought that was very kind of her to do. She
great.
said, anything we need.
Thank you.
When you're done, I have.
Oh, thank you. Just two signs that are driving me nuts. Always Amazing, or whatever it is. Half of their sign is out.
Ozama?
half of their sign is out, along with the restaurant in the old Kmart, that strip mall there. That one is out also,
On the Dundee side,
on the Dundee side, yes.
the Las Islas.
Right, yeah. And always amazing, it's just, is it Alwa?
Always Alma.
Yeah, so, right. Just, and then we, yeah, okay. Commissioner Steinle?
Thank you. Just a word of warning to the Plan Commission. I accidentally updated Goodreader to the new, current, latest version of Goodreader, and what happens is the right-hand side turns almost black. All the buttons have moved all over the place.
It's a radical change.
And it's very difficult to read this one page, and just thought that you should be aware that you can't go back once you go. And
Right. Now, I downloaded it, I think I have the most current version, and I haven't had those issues.
it doesn't look like,
It looks like that, but,
Oh.
it looks like that, but it's just a different user interface.
yeah,
Yeah, there's nothing, yeah,
it still works.
It still works,
If you
but
can
it's a
find-
different-
If you can
yes.
find the button
right, to sync.
to sync.
Right,
yes.
there was nothing that told you, you had to go and hit the buttons to figure out which one was syncing. Right, yeah.
So just be forewarned.
It is definitely a different user interface, without a doubt, yeah.
I asked, who's here from the IT?
Luca?
Today?
No.
Today it's
Tonight.
Daryl.
Daryl. I asked him about updating, if I should just, and he says if it's working, leave it go, and I have decided to leave it go.
Yeah, I had some
Working.
problems viewing plans that it took a while for them to size
Yes.
some stuff that are corrected in this new version.
Right,
It works perfect, but that's why I did it, and then,
I know, I've been having problems with pages, when I bring it up
Right.
a Goodreader, refreshing.
right, exactly.
And I don't know if that's a product of the iPad or the product of Goodreader.
And I've had a problem getting a new file, so I've asked Luca to help me tomorrow, so
Oh,
I don't know why, I can't name a file or anything.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah, no, it's very strange. Never had that problem before.
Interesting, okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Good night, all. Can we take that? Are we allowed to take this?
I think
Yeah,
so.
that's what I was wondering too.